I had planned on you doing the meditation.
Good evening. Welcome.
Welcome. Hello.
So nice to see you all. I'm so glad you're here. Else I'd be here by myself. And that'd be okay too. Okay, we're going to start off by setting an intention and offering a prayer, whichever is comfortable for you, or just sit and share your energy. That's perfectly fine as well. Creator of the universe, source of all life, we thank you for the opportunity to be together, to encourage each other, to build each other up in a world that sometimes tears us down. We ask that you help us to hear that which is beneficial for us personally and to see the benefit of that which we've learned and apply it in our life. And so it is.
So it is.
All right. So that prayer was specifically oriented to the discussion du jour. So I had posted that I wanted to talk a little bit about the benefit of education and learning and knowledge versus self-awareness and realization, and knowing. So there are a number of different philosophies that talk about education, and most of them value education greatly. So I looked up a couple of things. I wanted to make some specific references rather than you just taking my word for it. So in Islam, education is highly prized, and in fact, not just men learn, but women learn as well. And some of the things that they regard as essential in learning or beneficial in learning are medicine and mathematics, which are referred to as the sciences of the ancients, and then philosophy and science and theology are also taught at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. So I thought I'd share that with you. Then also, if you look at the Hebrew scriptures or the Old Testament of the Bible, there's a great regard in the Hebrew tradition for education. First of all, education in numerous areas in the Judaic tradition. But I thought I'd refer to Proverbs in particular. It talks about wisdom and understanding being better than gold. So not just wisdom, but understanding being better than gold. And I think that's really important to point out. In the Judaic tradition, which I know a little bit more about than Islam because I've actually went to Hebrew school, so that helps a lot. But there is a tradition of learning and then discussion and debate about the learning that you have gleaned. So you not only learn, but you have an opportunity to disagree with somebody else's opinion about something, then base that on some fact or some knowledge that you've gained in your personal study, which is very important. In the New Testament, I wanted to point out a scripture in 2 Timothy, which is one of my favorites, and you have heard Max quote it many, many times, I'm sure. It says, "Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word." All right. So this too reflects the scripture that we mentioned in Proverbs. Not just having information, but having enough information that you, when you are asked a question, can answer it in certainty and in knowledge and present yourself as somebody who has an authority through their understanding of a particular subject. In particular, a lot of this pertains to the Bible, but it could pertain to anything in your life. For example, if somebody said something to you about light bulbs, you should only use this kind of light bulb. You would ask them, wow, I never thought about that. Why? Why should I use only that kind of light bulb? Well, because that's the one that I use. That's not a good answer. That's not a good answer. Well, because it saves you money. Really, how does it save me money, right? That's what you're going to ask. I mean, it's just common sense. There's a certain logical line of questioning that follows those kinds of statements. Well, why? How does it save me money? Well, because the wattage is lower, but the incandescent light is brighter. Oh, so not only is it going to save me money because it's not going to use as much energy to light up my house, but it's actually going to be brighter than the light bulbs that I use. That is a reasonable argument. Why is it a reasonable argument? It's a reasonable argument because there's a certain amount of knowledge and information, factual information, that that person could share with me. Now, I could take that light bulb home and put it in, and guess what? It's not as bright as I thought it should be. That's a possibility. And that's one of the reasons why I always suggest to people that they not take my word for anything. That you should always research the things that I share with you, or, as I like to say, Google that shit. Okay? Now we're going to talk about a couple of traditions that are outside of the orthodoxy that we're very familiar with, which would be a Judeo-Christian, Islamic, kind of Abrahamic faith. And there, I can talk to you personally about Wicca. Wicca was established by Gavin and Yvonne Frost, who happen to be personal friends of mine. Well, Gavin's passed, but they were personal friends of mine. So how do they feel about education? How does education, how is it valued in the community of Wicca? Was highly regarded, not just highly regarded by Gavin, but Gavin was a doctor of physics and mathematics, just in case you didn't know, and a brilliant guy, actually explained to me some things in a visual way so that they made an incredible impact on my mind. In particular, he talked a little bit about how long man has been on this planet. Now, I know we hear that, we all know this. We've watched plenty of Earth shows, nature shows, lots of ancient aliens, right? So we're looking at that and going, yeah, it seems like a really long time. We've been here for a pretty long time. Well, he actually took a piece of string, and he had Max hold one end, and he held the other, and we were in a room about this big, and he was on this side, and Max was on that side, Reverend Max. And they held this string, and then he took about 1 inch of it, and he said, this is how long we've been here. This is how long this planet has existed. It made such an impact on my mind. It really changed my whole view of how quickly things have changed in the scope of our history as human beings. And so I could see how important it was to him, not that he had an education, but that he was able to impart information to me so that I could understand it in a really clear way. And he was very good at that, very skilled teacher. And so I appreciated that very much. Very essential to Wicca is critical thinking and focus. Because you can't perform magic if you can't critically think and focus. That's all I have to say about that. So, Hinduism. How is knowledge viewed in Hinduism? To achieve the 4 basic aims of human life, it's essential that you have knowledge and education. What are those 4 aims in human life? Virtue, wealth, pleasure, and liberation. Does that make sense to you? So if you have no knowledge of how to acquire those things, or how to even make a progression towards what virtue is, or how to achieve wealth of any kind, even if it's just happiness, right? Or pleasure, you really need critical thinking, you need focus, you need to be a student of some kind to understand these things. So I wanted to share that with you, and then I wanted to share some of the ideas that have come to me through prayer and meditation that I felt like were really essential. And this is that so many of us are deeply moved and affected by Eastern philosophy. How many of us have studied some kind of Eastern ideology? Yeah, right? Because metaphysical spirituality embraces that. Just meditation in and of itself is a very Eastern behavior, very Eastern practice. So as we embrace those ideas, we also embrace the ideas of self-realization and knowing that occurs when we meditate. This is my thinking on this subject, and I'm asking you to consider it personally, is that this is awesome. So when our mind is opened up to new ideas and new expanses and new thoughts outside of our typical scope of thinking, it's very difficult to communicate sometimes what those experiences are. Do you agree? Yeah? How much more difficult would it be to explain an experience that is beyond your current experience if you don't have a vocabulary to do so? Makes it much harder, right? Because you're going to use words within the context that you understand. And so for many years, my understanding of education was directly related to the use of education in sharing ideas, thoughts, and experiences with others. Does that make sense? So in order for me to be able to express myself fully and vividly, and for people to understand fully the picture in my head, because that's what we're doing. We're painting this picture in our head, and then I'm sharing it with you, but you can't see it. You can't see it at all. So I have to bring it to life with my words, with my energy, with my thoughts. If I only have a vocabulary that's minimal, it's going to be much more difficult for me to do that. If my experience in speaking to other people makes me shy and timid and self-conscious, that makes it very hard for me to express ideas and thoughts and experiences in a larger way. So in order to hone myself as a tool, as a vessel for spirit to use, I must educate myself. So I understood this idea personally a long time ago, and so I started to read. And I became a voracious reader from the time I was 12 years old. I read everything I could get my hands on, and so my parents had to hide books because some of them they just didn't want a 12-year-old reading. And they shouldn't have had those books underneath their mattress. That was my thinking. No. But I was being funny. But anyway, I think it's really important that we understand that we are the ones that grab those experiences and those opportunities to learn, right? So if we are interested in Hinduism, or interested in Buddhism, or interested in Wicca, or interested in other pagan ideologies, or interested in anything, quantum leaping, you know, ancient alien stuff. One of the books I read when I was 13 was, now it slipped right out of my head.
Aliens.
There was the alien book about the tracks, and I loved that book. I loved that book, and it really sparked my imagination. Chariot of Gods, that was the name of the book. So that kind of opportunity to put in my head that kind of information just propelled me and whet my appetite for more information, more information. Now, I understand everybody is not going to be a lifelong student. Some of us just don't enjoy that. We look for things, we cherry pick. This I'm interested in, that I'm interested, I'm not really interested in that. And as we get older, we become a little more discerning about what it is that we want to read and what it is that we want to learn about. But the idea is that by the time you're an adult, you should have enough information and enough knowledge, and if you don't, then you should take advantage of the opportunity to gain it as much as possible, so that your spiritual journey is enriched by all of that. If you don't, then you're cheating yourself. You're really cheating yourself. There are many, many people that I have run into in my life that I've spoken to. Now, my doctorate is in theology. Granted, I know a lot about a lot of different religions, but I was also a Bible student for over 20 years. And not that I don't study the Bible now, I more reference it than study it, but I have a vast knowledge of the Bible. So I would talk to people, and people would talk to me, and they'd say, hey, now I have a question for you. You know so much about the Bible, what does this mean, or what does that mean? Or, you know, this is what I believe, and this is the right thing to believe, because most of us believe whatever it is that we believe is the right thing to believe. And I'd say, well, that's interesting. Do you know where that idea came from? Well, it's in the Bible. Well, yes, it's in the Bible, but have you read the Old Testament of the Bible? Have you read the Hebrew Scriptures? Yeah, no, I'm just interested in the gospel. See, this kind of thinking traps you, because this in and of itself does not explain the totality of that particular book. So you're reading sections of a book. If you picked up my book and you read sections of my book, you probably wouldn't be here. But if you read all of my book, you'd say, oh, I get it. I get what she's trying to say here. I get what she's trying to do. Makes sense. It's like anything else. If you take one piece of it out of context, you don't get a full picture. So there's an awful lot of people that have a particular idea about where they are spiritually, but they have no context. They've not really done the historical work to understand how that came to be. How did this happen? How did this move on? For example, I have a friend of mine who was talking to me about the Buddha, loves everything that the Buddha teaches, and thinks it's very interesting and very exciting. New ideas for them, brand new ideas. And it's so nice to run into somebody who's just newly searching. They're just so zealous and so excited. They could just barely contain themselves. And I said, well, did you know that Buddha was Hindu? No, Buddha was a Buddhist. Well, that's like saying Jesus was a Christian. You know, Jesus was a Jew. Believe it or not, Buddha was Hindu. So if we don't know that and we're learning from them, we miss some essential part of how they came to be at that place, how they came to understand their journey, because these great teachers are trying to show us how they've evolved themselves spiritually. So ultimately, we're looking at this idea from an Eastern philosophy, the self-realized man. There are very few teachers, aside from Sadhguru, that I can think of off the top of my head, who is self-realized and tells you don't read a book. It's just extra knowledge in your head that means nothing. Most Eastern teachers have learned from a guru, from a teacher. And they learned from a guru, from a teacher. So each teacher passes on the oral tradition of teaching. It's the same in shamanism. In shamanism, the shaman teaches his student. Then his student practices that. So even though we are thinking self-realization just comes and we just know and we have all this knowledge, and even if we believe that in our heart, that we all have access to the Akashic record, we all have in our DNA all the knowledge that has ever existed on the face of this planet, how are you going to express those ideas and thoughts without educating yourself? You're not. Or you will in a very limited way. And to whom are you going to express those thoughts? So if I understand where you're coming from, I can share with you because I've learned a little bit about your background. I've learned a little bit about your culture. I've read up on it. So I can see where we can find common ground. If I don't do that, I'm kind of like in the nether. And I've missed an opportunity. Missed an opportunity to learn from you, to grow, and to share something meaningful and valuable with someone else. My spiritual experience, right? Which is profoundly unique from person to person. So ultimately, here at the Temple of Spiritual Awareness, we find that education is important. And we mean by education, secular education. I love theology. I would study it to the exclusion of all else. But I would never have been able to share the ideas and the thoughts and the revelations that I've come to unless I had a secular education. So I encourage you to expand your vocabulary, work on it. Yeah, read a book. Read a book that you don't think you're going to like. There's a surprise. There's been one book in my life that I didn't finish, and that was The Dogs of War, and I just don't know why. I just couldn't finish it. I just had a really hard time with it. So I didn't recover. But every other book, even if I got bored in the middle, I'd put it down, go back to it, and read it because I felt like it was a challenge to me. You know, you gotta finish it, gotta finish the book. Something's gonna happen, I'm gonna miss it if I don't finish it. There's some great message at the end, and I'm gonna get it. So it's really important that we get an idea, or that you consider these thoughts. I think they're fundamentally important now as this movement and the New Age movement has been growing and evolving. And I think it's important that we know where we come from. If we have some very firm ideas that are separate and individual and outside of the belief structure that we have here as a shared community, that's perfectly fine. That's wonderful. I embrace and celebrate your journey. But learn about where your journey is. Why are you on that journey? Know a little bit about your own belief. Know a little bit about your own history and where that comes from. That's really important. Because how can you even express to somebody what it is that you believe if you're completely ignorant as to what that is? That's why it's so important that we prove ourselves, right? Knowledgeable about the things that we say that we believe. Yeah. And so that is my thought for today. And I leave that with you with love. Namaste. And I am going to invite Reverend Lulu to the podium to share with us a meditation this evening. I don't think that she was expecting that. But she can just do it on the fly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here comes the awkwardness. Peter, may I have some music, please? Get rid of these lights. Everybody go ahead and get comfortable. I don't need to guide your breath. Just guide your own breath and take 3 deep breaths for me. And on this last breath out, I want you to imagine yourself lying in the grass with the sun in your face. It's warm, it's comfortable, it's peaceful. And you just lie there and breathe for a minute. Forget the warmth of the sun. As you feel the sun, imagine the sun penetrating every cell of your body to give you energy, release of any kind of body pain. And don't forget to breathe. You're laying there in the grass with your eyes closed, relaxed, peaceful, warm. You can feel the sun come through your feet. It energizes all the way up to your knees, releasing all pain and giving it energy. It goes from your knees up to your hips, through your belly, through your heart, up through your throat, the front and back of your spine, and out through the tip of your head. Now feeling even more relaxed, more full of energy. As you see the rays of the sun, those rays give you visualizations of knowledge that was always there and always accessible to you. The rays bring this knowledge into your mind through your focus, and for you to understand. You lay there on the grass, the sun rays spreading the knowledge of anything you desire. Not only does it bring you the knowledge, it brings you the resources to see these knowledgeable things in action. It brings you to a place of complete understanding. Bring some attention back to your breath. Notice how the sun and this knowledge has livened the cells in your body, has relaxed you. Because knowledge can be relaxing, it can be contenting and comforting. Knowledge is virtue, and with virtue is peace, peace of mind. Contentment in your truth and your knowing. Take another deep breath in, breathing in the sun, the rays, the warmth. Still feeling energized. Now just lay there for a minute and let the visions of this knowledge go through your mind. And then let it dissipate. And free your mind from the thinking of it. Just know that you already now know it. And your resources will provide you later on to remind you the knowledge that you wish to seek. You take another deep breath in. And let it go. Feeling even more relaxed. And just let your mind sit at ease in this moment and only concentrate on your breath. Each breath, just try to let it get you more and more relaxed with a deeper, deeper breath. Now, as you lay there, the sun's shining, it's warm, and all of a sudden it starts to drizzle. The rain is still warm, but each drop nurtures your mind with knowledge. These drops drop against your arm, your leg, and is starting to drench your whole being with knowledge. With every little drop is something new to obtain. Sometimes in the discomfort of rain comes prudent knowledge. We accept the rain, we accept the knowledge. Take another deep breath in and let it out. The drizzles slowly go in reverse, back up into the sky, back into the clouds, back into the universe. But they remain right there in your head. And if you want to remember, just seek the droplets and ask to be reminded. The rain is cleared, the sun is shiny and bright again. We lay there and we catch our breath as we slowly start to dry. Concentrate on your breath while you dry. This time, without even realizing, you're already almost fully dry. Still warm, still relaxed, and grateful. Even for the knowledge you receive but don't attain. You take another big deep breath in. As you breathe out, you are now fully, completely dry. Anytime that you want to obtain knowledge, just sit and relax and just be in your breath. And just ask and silently wait. Imagine the answer even to just one question, one subject. In a tiny little raindroplet that hits you in the forehead and submerges your being to discerning, to understanding. You're now completely dry. The energy, the sun has completely energized every single cell in your body. You feel full of air. You feel full of peace and relaxation. And allow this time to know that this knowledge I can obtain through the relaxation of my breath and just visualizing a droplet of rain or anything really. Take 3 more deep breaths. Visualize your body slowly sitting up, refined and happy. You sit up and cross your legs, and then bring this visualization back into the awareness of your body and into your chair. When you feel like you're back in your chair, you can slowly open your eyes. And give thanks. Thank you. Anytime we want to obtain knowledge, we can meditate and get into our breath to release thought. We can visualize what we need to know as droplets of rain. We can visualize them as cars in our new garage. Whatever appeases our heart or mind. But knowledge is tamed through a still mind and relaxation. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Namaste. And should I slowly bring the lights up for you guys so we're not getting... Thank you for the music, Peter. I'm gonna kind of leave the lights dimmed because I know once I get out of meditation, bright light, I'm like, okay. And at this portion, we are gonna do the healing portion of our service. Thank you, Facebook, Instagram,